what really connects the dots of like great creative things is when you're able to take something that doesn't always relate, that's far away, but bring it in and show it in a relatable way that it drives something forward in a new way. It's tangible, it's understood, and then you repurpose it into another area to get it to become something new. A lot of times that's what innovation really is in most worlds.
Only real content is gonna last. All that other nonsense is here today and gone tomorrow.
Similarities and differences between shoes and cars as far as industries, but what about designing, and what did you kind of like learn as you stepped into that challenge into designing cars? Was it difficult as you thought it was going to be? And yeah, could you just talk about your transition into that?
I think the thing that was difficult, I mean, the thing that's plagued me, and I don't even plague's not the word because I've embraced it and I think it's actually a good thing. But like at GM, I was seen as a shoe designer in a car design world, right? As a
Right.
footwear side, I was seen as like a car designer in the footwear design world. So there's always like this weird, like everybody, regardless if you're in the creative industry or not, you still get boxed in some way, shape, or form, right? People want, it's what makes people feel comfortable to be able to compare and contrast.
Right.
So that was probably one of the differences and challenges of coming over that, getting people to understand what what I can bring to the table, because I don't have this lifelong, he's an outsider, he's not a lifelong car designer, he didn't draw it. But meanwhile, I was at CCS, I was taking all those car design classes too, and I was doing just as well as most of those kids that are
Right.
now famous car designers. So if not better, to be frank and arrogant at the same time. But like I guess my statement to you would be the difference was probably how the business ran. There wasn't always like a brief. Like within footwear, there's usually a brief. There's usually a kickoff of like, this is what you're doing with your shoe, and this is what it is, this is where it fits. But it was like, you know, sometimes we were just starting the next Corvette, or we were starting the next Silverado, or something like that. You just kind of started
Right.
drawing. The only one that I ever truly remember having a brief was actually a Hummer, but nonetheless, that like journey is also far more serious because you don't have a second opportunity, or it's rare that you have an opportunity to fix it. Like, I'm not like, I'm not the person to go to for math, but I mean, I can tell you this, like, even a really, really expensive shoe, and I'm not talking expensive retail, but I'm talking like expensive to make, like that flight posit there, like that's an expensive tool set. Like that's a lot of investment. But with my education, I would say that cost somewhere between 250,000 and $400,000 for total like product investment for raw materials, not necessarily marketing and other things like that. Nike is a marketing machine, so I'm sure the Fun Police videos were millions of dollars or something like that. But
Right.
from a car, like $1 billion, man. Like before you even like hit marketing or any of that. And
Right.
that also ties into many different effects of like supply chain relationships and unions and other pieces like that. So the point is that the critiques and the seriousness of it is far different than footwear, because, and this isn't to downplay either one of them, because both are massively important and both are different. But like you if you screwed up a shoe in a quarter, you had time to fix it the next quarter. If you screw up a car, it's going to take 7 years, 10 years, and it's
Right.
financially enough that it could screw up those suppliers, it could screw up your business, it could screw up many things. So the scrutiny as to what you're creating and what you're doing is far higher. It's far more unique. What I loved about the process is exactly what I felt missed on the flip side of the footwear business, was like I understood exactly what I was designing to and what the price was. The way we worked with suppliers, the way we had an understanding of what we were coming in for, it was much more collaborative, much more partnership. It was still kind of siloed at times, meaning that like getting interior, exterior, color, and materials and all of us to talk together could be challenging at times. But the best ones were where we really all came together and really formulated it. I was lucky enough to be on a Corvette almost my entire time there. I ended the C6 and helped finish the C7 and was a pivotal part of the C8, and stuff that's yet to come out yet. And it was absolutely extraordinary experience because it taught me so much about when you're with the right team and you're with the right people and you're all on the same path and like the same guided light, you can see where a great product happens and why it happens. It was absolutely extraordinary. And like to ask about like creative process, you know, the way that I always looked at it wasn't that different from a shoe. I mean, for the most part, when you're designing a shoe, it's full of emotion and it's full of movement. You want it to look like it's
Right.
moving even when it's sitting still. Everything that we do within the automotive world should convey the exact same thing, and how you hone that. And honestly, the stuff that I was able to help with, in particular the color and materials and a little bit on the interior side of stuff, it was realistically a soft good. And that's essentially what I was doing. It's just much bigger. So, you know,
Right.
the processes were kind of similar, and it was able to also, you know, a lot of times when we talk about, you know, we spent a good time talking about music before this, and realistically, like what really connects the dots of like great creative things is when you're able to take something that doesn't always relate, that's far away, but bring it in and show it in a relatable way that it drives something forward in a new way. It's tangible, it's understood, and then you repurpose it into another area to get it to become something new. A lot of times that's what innovation really is in most worlds. And that footwear piece helped me a ton in that sense, especially on the Corvette side, because it's purely emotional. Nobody needs a Corvette. There's not a single person on this planet that can say they can't function their lives without a Corvette. But I should say nobody, you know, but that want and that desire and that emotional connection in that aspect was realistically what I played up and really what I drove into. It's also lucky that like when I really got running within working on that product with the team, we were also starting to see kind of like the highlights of stuff like C7 really brought the brand really, really high up. And then that brought us right into C8. And you got to really hone in on like, all right, what do I love about footwear? Oh, okay, well, I love like bright, bold colors that like highlight these other pieces. Well, how do we do that and apply it? I was able to do like able to work with Ryan Vaughn and Tristan Murphy and Brian Geisler and Brian Stockel and a few of these other people that all had the same mentality. And we all just really pushed that feeling and that emotion and understanding where we could take that product and ultimately the brand. You know?